One way in which I will argue classic television is better than modern television is in how it got its stories. The Twilight Zone had its own stable of writers, to be sure, but they also cast a wide net to outsiders, taking stories from relative unknowns with fresh perspectives. Let's get to it, shall we?
Hold it! Hold it!
It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
A man named Archie Hammer walks down a street decorated with signs hung up by drunken monkeys. He checks into the ironically named Hotel Real and immediately gets to shaving, showing the audience how he can change his face at will. First question, if he can do that, why is he bothering to shave? He helpfully lays out some of his identities on the bed before heading back out into the dreamy, Dutch-angled night toward a nightclub filled with cigarette smoke and sultry jazz. Hammer then catches the singer, Maggie, on a break, and goes catfishing in the face of her dead lover, Johnny Foster. They compete with each other over who can deliver the most hard-boiled dialogue.
How'd they feel about the deceased, huh? What kind of tears?
You came to the right place, Johnny. I have a room full of buckets.
And Maggie seems none the wiser that this man isn't really Johnny. He tells her they can run away together if she'll meet him at the station, and then they smash their faces together. One of the other musicians recognizes him as he hurries out, but by the time the musician catches up to him, Hammer's already changed his face.
I'll take the light, but you got the wrong guy.
And returned to the world of surreal street signs. I make fun, but I actually really love this episode's style. Sure, it borders on a silly satire of film noir, but it never quite crosses that line. A dead gangster is next on Hammer's to-do list, so while Maggie gets ready to run away with Johnny, Virgil Sterrig barges in on Mr. Pennell, the man who recently had him killed. Pennell breaks his television and claims to be happy to see him.
Virgil, this is the happiest day of my life.
This is the happiest day of your life. How come you look like somebody just stuck lemon juice in your beer, huh?
Hammer, as Virgil, then steals an envelope full of money and faces the inevitable result, getting chased into an alleyway by strangers. Cornered, he then changes his face to that of a boxer whose picture is on the wall, and the goons walk away. He then happens upon an old man who clearly knows the boxer Andy, and we find out the old man is Andy's father, and that Andy ran away from home a while back, ruining his family. The old man then shows his son some tough love.
I hate your guts.
They have a fight, as Andy's father releases all of his anger and frustration, before Andy pushes the old man down and runs away. Back at the Real Hotel, Hammer, now with his own face, is caught by the feds and agrees to go quietly, only to pull the old revolving door trick. As Andy, he bumps into the man's father again, and the old man seems to have a little more to say. As Hammer dies on the sidewalk, he shuffles through his various identities, leaving the old man perplexed. This is a fun little episode that doesn't overstay its welcome. It keeps the tone surprisingly light up until the end, as we watch a con man do con man things, driven to some kind of sociopathy by his inexplicable powers, and even though the character is played by multiple actors, you never stop believing it's the same guy. It's worth noting that this is based on a story by the writer George Clayton Johnson, the same guy who co-wrote Logan's Run, and we'll see him pop up a few more times throughout the series.
It's time to wake up.
Wake up to Tang!
Tang, the happy new breakfast drink you don't squeeze, unfreeze, or refrigerate.
Our next episode starts as a group of men walk through a security checkpoint / power substation, and the guards helpfully announce their jobs at places like germ research and chemical warfare. We then meet Will Sturka, played by the great Fritz Weaver, who works at Hydrogen Armament. Sturka has a smoke with Carling, and they discuss a massive military strike of some sort that is about to happen in 48 hours and completely wipe out the enemy. Carling shows his suspicions that Sturka is some kind of dangerous peacenik.
That's dangerous thinking. You better mind what you say.
And later, Sturka goes home to his wife and daughter. His daughter pesters him for being involved in the military-industrial complex and expresses her worries that something terrible is in the air. Sturka then reassures his daughter by telling her how the military perverts every good thing ever created. He then insists on inviting somebody named Jerry and his wife over, even though Jerry is supposed to be out of town, and that his daughter break off a date in order to stay with them and watch a bunch of adults play cards. The most realistic thing in this episode is his teenage daughter's reaction.
Oh, all right, Dad.
Sturka's wife somehow deduces that something weird is happening and confronts him alone, where Sturka reveals that the attack is going to happen in 48 hours.
It'll be a holocaust. It will be hell.
I was confused about the timeline of events at first, but it makes sense as long as you assume that they were leaving work at the beginning of the episode instead of going to work. Sturka then explains that the five of them, Sturka, his wife, his daughter, Jerry, and Jerry's wife, are going to leave tonight. Jerry arrives, and Sturka talks in code in order to prevent spying, even though he was just speaking very openly in the bedroom. They go into the basement, pretending to be talking about a watch, and confer about the night's plans, while a machine whirs in the background, masking their voices.
Does the hand know yet?
Not everything. Only that we're in danger and we've got to get out.
However, when they're done, we see that Carling has been listening all along. Later, during a riveting game of
16.
Four.
You know what? I have no idea what game they're playing. Jerry shows his plan, drawn on the back of a slip of paper, to board a spacecraft and leave for an alien planet that seems to harbor intelligent life not too dissimilar to their own. Then Carling shows up, probing for more information, but doesn't actually get anything, even after picking up the paper and failing to turn it over. Sturka escorts Carling out, and then tells everybody it's time to leave, that the guards they bribed around the spaceship are about to be on shift. Sturka then says the planet could be destroyed by morning. I don't want to ruin the twist yet, but maybe these people just have a different idea of what 48 hours means. Cut to the five of them trying to break into the launch pad area, only to be stopped by Carling, who, surprise surprise, knew what they were planning all along. When I first watched this episode, I really wanted Carling to reveal that he only wanted to get on the ship with them. But no, he's just as much a villain as he's been portrayed up to this point, as he holds the men at gunpoint and asks the women to leave the car. We then see how good a father Sturka has been as his daughter immediately disarms Carling, giving them a chance to make a run for the spaceship. They make it to space, where the twist is revealed. This is actually a prequel to Forbidden Planet. But wait, no. The twist is just that they've been aliens this whole time and are now headed for Earth. As a bit of boilerplate 1950s era Cold War anxiety, this episode is fine, and the twist does work, but to be honest, it's kind of forgettable. The way the story is framed robs it of the suspense it thinks it has, leading to drawn-out scenes that are supposed to be tense, but come across as boring. As I said, I think it would have been more interesting if Carling wanted to go with them the whole time, showing that even the apparent true believers knew how foolish the WMD arms race is, but hey, it's still a perfectly fine Twilight Zone episode. And that's all I have on The Four of Us Are Dying and Third from the Sun. Now, as always, do all those YouTube-y things, check out my Patreon, and all that other good stuff. But until next time, this is the Unapologetic Geek, telling you to never be ashamed of what you love, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
You can go whoosh, up, over, and whammo. Absolutely.